2026. For those in the room, the exits are towards the front of the building and towards the back of the building. If you can, please stand up and follow me on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to start with public comment. Anyone here would like to come up and say something? Ladies first, or?
Ladies first.
Okay, Andrew? Thanks, Glenn.
Follow her.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Rendo, Lewisboro, New York. After watching the last town board meeting and then reviewing the agenda for tonight's meeting, it was very disappointing to see that our new town board members' first action out of the box was to propose that a resolution be adopted by this board relating to things that have nothing to do with the operations of the town of Lewisboro. What this proposed resolution actually does do is insult our chief of police and the members of the Lewisboro Police Department by insinuating that they need a reminder on how to do their job. Has there been a complaint? Has there been some immigration issue in the town that we're not aware of? Have our officers not done their jobs properly? And this coming from the new liaison to the Lewisboro Police Department. Instead of letting us know your feelings on the state of immigration enforcement in our country, could you let us know how you feel about things such as the location of the proposed new cell tower, zoning for battery storage and solar farms appropriate to protect our residents, the water issues that still exist in Oak Ridge, the proposed zoning code for excavation and fill, the update to the tree ordinance and when, if at all, it's going to happen, the best way to keep our highway department fully equipped and prepared to maintain our streets and plow our roads, or an opinion on any of the other issues directly related to the town and how our tax dollars are spent. You would think that all of you would have learned from the mistakes of the council person who sat in that seat before me, but apparently not. My recommendation is that you all focus your energy on the day-to-day workings of the town and stay in your lane by doing the job that you are actually elected to do. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Glenn DeFaber, Lewisboro. I'd love to speak like Andrea, but I'm a fifth grade dropout, so you have to, I apologize. I'm here personally because I was told if you're not serious, you come in because Zoom is not a place to speak. It seems that today is February 2nd, Groundhog Day, because I could swear we've had this conversation already. A new council person has to have a resolution. And the question is, are you doing it for Lewisboro or are you doing it for yourself? Are you building your brand or are you working for the people in Lewisboro? Because to have a resolution that we've already discussed 5 years ago, dealing with immigration in Lewisboro, which is non-existent. Tony was on the board. Dan was on the board. Jane was on the board. We have a big banner at Onatru that says Lewisboro is a welcoming place. But no, we have to go through it again. And it seems to be that it's a waste of time, our time and our money, whether it's Dan having his opinion being made regarding the Palestinians, Jane apologizing for stealing the Indian land, and now we have the resolution that is so obvious what this is about. You want to be supervisor in Lewisboro. You've told many people, don't look like that, because things like that talk. But don't worry, Tony, I'm a registered Democrat. And if there is a primary, I'm voting for you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Simone O'Connor, Vista. Virtue signaling is the public expression of opinions or sentiments intended to demonstrate one's good character or social conscience or the moral correctness of one's position on a particular issue. Tonight is our new councilwoman's third meeting sitting on our town board. She spent the second one asking how to get her resolution on the agenda. Could have been asked before or after the meeting, but nonetheless, here we are. Pretty ironic that this newly appointed liaison to the police is putting forth a resolution that, in my opinion, looks to undermine the town's confidence in our police chief and department. Are you questioning whether our police chief knows his job? Are you now professing to know what it takes to be a police officer? This proposed resolution says nothing, is divisive and insulting, in my opinion. Where is due diligence fit in? Maybe wait 5 minutes into your tenure and immerse yourself in Lewisboro's real issues. Where is the bus promise to the seniors? Why did the water at Oak Ridge fail a few days ago if the project we pumped millions in is almost done? What are we doing to name and address our dangerous roads? What is happening with drugs at the Acme Shopping Center? And the list goes on. Why are you bringing national and international politics to our small town? Quoting the United States Constitution is quite different from understanding it. If this is your passion, why didn't you run for Congress? Why just town board? I've attended every meeting for the last 6 years, not just the handful you did upon announcing your candidacy. In my opinion, you need to do the job you asked for and understand that reality has a way of cutting through the posturing. Our town supervisor has a duty to lead, and in my opinion, this is the opposite of leading. Perhaps let's address the issues we face here in Lewisboro and stop clutching your pearls. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Gail Krajewicz, and I believe that we all voted for a town board to follow the master plan that all of us made. You went to every community, every section of our town, and I think that's what we should be focused on, not immigration. As far as I know, there's no problem here with immigration. I'm president of the Lewisboro Seniors. We have Democrats, we have Republicans, we have independents. Julia's mother's a member, we love her. But I think we should stay out of politics. So anyway, the next thing is, last April, we had a meeting at Katona Lewisboro, and everybody was thanking Dottie and Joanne and whoever for getting a grant for the senior bus. All this time, we've thought that this bus was on order. And then to find out after the bus broke down the other day, there is no bus coming, and they said there is no grant. And on a personal note, I would like a guardrail on the top of Flintlock Ridge Road so somebody one day doesn't go 100 feet down the cliff. We have a guardrail on the bottom of the hill, but nothing on the top. And needless to say, we're on a big hill, so we're usually the last. There's only a few houses up there. We're the last to get plowed, which, I understand that. But a guardrail is needed, because if you ever slip on the ice there, you'll go right over the mountain. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Harold Johnson. I'm an attorney and also a 26-year member of the town of Lewisboro. I heard about this resolution only recently, the proposed resolution, which is to affirm Fourth Amendment protections and lawful policing practices when federal immigration enforcement is present in the town. I don't understand why we need a resolution like that. This is a national federal law And we don't have to have any direction to anybody about federal law. Federal law does have supremacy over local law. I think everybody knows that. And the immigration enforcement is federal law, and they're entitled to, if anyone was here illegally as a criminal, if somebody was, God forbid, raping somebody or killing somebody or robbing somebody, and they're an illegal immigrant here because they came across the border, and not even because they were stopped by the immigration authority. Let's say they're one of these gotaways. And there's plenty of bad illegal aliens in this country. And they have to, in my opinion, they're violating the law, and they're also bringing in their criminal activities from their home countries. So why wouldn't we want to block that immigration authorities from helping? And of course, they may not be obligated to, but it's certainly good to cooperate with the federal government in this case. You also mentioned the premise of the resolution is not right, because you don't mention that there are exceptions to the Fourth Amendment. It's called exigent circumstances. You can't perform a warrantless search when there's emergency circumstances. For instance, a car is about to be stolen. You can get into that car and get the person out. Someone who's an illegal immigrant is committing a crime in the house, your house, my house, anyone's house. That person, the police are allowed to come in and stop that crime. There are exceptions, and this is not premised correctly. There are exceptions. You're saying that you're making the assumption that in one of the whereases that ICE is detaining individuals without due process. What?
Thanks, Harold.
Yeah,
That's-
is that it? My
You're
time is up? I know,
Yep, sorry.
my first time here.
Anybody else would like to speak? Over Zoom? Anybody else? No? Okay. Zoom?
Yes. Barbara Mangione, I'm asking you to unmute, please.
Can you hear me, Jana?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I have a cold. Thank you. As long as we're talking about resolutions, I just wanted to speak about another issue. Almost 2 years ago, I asked the town on 2 to 3 separate occasions to consider instituting a moratorium on battery energy storage systems, otherwise known as BESS. After observing what was happening in neighboring towns at that time, such as Mayapack, Carmel, Somers, and Mount Kisco, I was hoping the town would be proactive in not allowing these large-scale systems to make their way into our semi-rural landscape. At that time, I was told moratoriums were not necessary as there were no current applications for any systems in our pipeline nor on the horizon. While there is no legal limit as to how many or how long the moratorium could or would last, at least that was true in 2024, there was an understanding that at the state level, they should not be used to block an application that was already received by a town. Hence my suggestion to institute one to avoid this issue. Let me restate. BESS have major key risks: fire safety problems, technical malfunctions, and operational issues, which can result in hazardous thermal runaway, which causes fires difficult to extinguish. They may reignite, and they may last for several days or longer. These fires release toxic gases into the air, which could affect hundreds, if not thousands, of residents. And fire suppression requires massive amounts of water, which leads to toxic chemicals being leaked into our ground and water supply. In addition to these and other risks, BESS puts a huge financial and manpower burden on our volunteer fire departments, as they would need additional training, equipment, funding, and manpower, many of which are in short supply right now. There is proposed state law that would take home rule away from away from local municipalities when it comes to placement of these systems in towns. Proposed legislation S 5506 in the Senate and A 8378 in the Assembly. These bills override town codes and moratoriums, leaving the decision of where these systems can be installed in the hands of the State Office of Renewable Energy Siting, known as ORS, ORES. Yorktown recently passed a resolution opposing this legislation, similar to the one passed by Carmel as well. I am asking now that the board pass a similar resolution, draw one up, and pass a similar resolution to protect all of our residents from these systems and their risk. And you can find these resolutions on the pages, the website pages for our neighboring towns. Thank you. And I just also want to quickly mention our condolences go out to Officer Llewellyn and his family on the loss of Zane. It was just mentioned today that Zane passed away. So I am sure all of us residents are mourning with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Craig Carroll, I'm asking you to unmute.
Good evening, Craig Carroll, South Salem. I'm here to speak against this proposed resolution. As a retired police lieutenant from this county, I find it unnecessary, misplaced, and frankly offensive to suggest that our local police department need a reminder about constitutional policing. Upholding the Fourth Amendment isn't optional. It's already the foundation of law enforcement, and our department has long demonstrated professionalism, restraint, and respect for the law. The resolution itself states that officers shall uphold and comply with the Fourth Amendment. With all due respect, that's already the oath every officer takes. Our police don't need a resolution telling them to follow the Constitution. They've been doing exactly that for years. Including language like this implies there's a problem where none has been demonstrated, and I believe that's unfair to the men and women serving this community. And frankly, it's no surprise this topic is being raised again. Just this time last year, when you served on the school board, communications went out to parents regarding ICE-related policies in our schools. That raised the same question then that it does now. How exactly does this fit our town? What specific local issues are we addressing? I would respectfully ask supporters of this measure to provide one concrete example that makes this relevant here today. Without that, this feels more like political messaging than responsible local governance. Meanwhile, our town has real priorities: infrastructure, fiscal responsibility, and ensuring that our officers have a safe, modern facility to do their jobs effectively. Those are the issues residents see and experience every day. Symbolic resolutions like this distract from those needs and risk creating division where none exists. I also want to commend our police chief for his leadership. He runs a professional, well-trained, and highly respected department. The culture of constitutional policing, professionalism, and accountability starts at the very top, and I believe he has done an outstanding job ensuring that our officers represent this town with honor. That leadership deserves recognition and support from all of us. Our officers don't need lectures through resolutions. They need continued backing from their community and leadership focused on the issues that genuinely affect this town. I urge this board to focus on real local concerns rather than adopting measures that solve no identifiable problem here. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Jim O'Connor, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, that's tough to follow from, I think it was Craig, the former lieutenant. Well done. I mean, I'm impressed. That's everything that I wanted to say, but he said it so much more eloquently. Well, I'm just gonna have to say something. Obviously, hello everyone. I haven't been around for quite a while, but I'm back. Sorry, Dan, this is not your night. I'd like to focus my attention on the newly appointed town board member, Julia Haddock. Congratulations on making your third town board meeting. Instead of sitting back and trying to learn the nuances of day-to-day operations of a governing body, you blindly jumped in and forwarded this resolution. Geez, it took Mary Shore about a year to do that. Well, lessons that I have taught and successfully proven to my children is that you can't change someone's mind when they don't deal in reality. And lack of common sense when it comes to this resolution, your toothless virtue signaling resolution is vapid and rings hollow. You lack common knowledge on state and federal rights and are misguided on the fact of the Constitution. It affords us certain rights that no other countries, including, which you stated, the UK, Canada, and of all places, Germany, these countries do not allow freedom of speech. As Americans, we have unadulterated freedom of speech. Certain things, of course, we can't scream in a fire in a crowded theater. So please do not attempt to compare my great country to others that are, and that which is un-American. I'm speaking to someone that probably believes in more than two biological sexes. So with that, I'm going to say good night, and I'm going to be back probably every week. So I'm glad I'm back, and I'm hopefully certain people on the board glad that I'm back also. Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank you, Jim. Letitia Stapleton, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Happy Black History Month. Just a FYI, I am so, I want to thank you, Julia, for bringing it up. We're not saying that there's a problem, but let's just address it, and so that there won't be no confusion, no, any in that sense. So I just feel like we need to reassure the law, not saying that they're not following the law, but as you know, today, they're not even following the Constitution of the law of today. So therefore, I just think as a reminder, not saying you, Lewisboro, I'm saying in general, the administration, I should say, is not following the Constitution of today. So I think reassuring it is a better way to cross all the I's, cross all the T's and dot all the I's. So therefore, thank you so much. And I love our police force. Dave is amazing. So I'm hoping that, thank you, Julia. Continue to do the work. Thank you, boy. Bye.
Thank you, Letitia. Okay, that's it.
That's it? Okay. All right, next we have, before we jump into a presentation, that folks are here from Optimum, we have a couple more things, but these will be quick. Communications, I do have one item. This was an email sent by Zen Sutherland. And it's regarding his interaction with Chief David Alfano of Lewisboro PD. So I'm just going to read this to the folks here. Recently, I had an interaction with Chief David Alfano, and I really must share this. At first, when Chief Alfano and I spoke, I absorbed his words. However, as the days went by, I heard his words over and over in my head. I realized how very lucky we are as a community to have a chief who thinks like this. Frankly, I wish I could share his words on a national level, as the current climate could use more people who think like this. I have run a small business in South Salem for 30 years, the location of which is somewhat out of public view. So some years ago, I asked Lewisboro PD if they would mind occasionally driving through the parking lot while I'm on their patrol. Whenever I see them, I am grateful and usually just wave. About 2 weeks ago, I noticed the patrol was actually Chief Alfano, so I went outside to say hello and thank him. We got to talk, just small talk, weather, cars, etc. He admired a car he saw there, and I said, maybe you know the owner, as I'm sure you meet lots of people in your line of work. It was his answer to that which has been playing in my mind over and over. He said,
I do meet a lot of people. Unfortunately, it's not always at their best moment. People go through tough times, and unfortunately, that's often when we are called. I know the person I'm seeing at that moment may not be who they are during most of their life. As the days went by and I replayed his words, I became more and more grateful for officers like our chief. His profound views and empathy, taking human psychology and the struggle we call life into consideration, was so refreshing. His realization that although he is there to enforce the law, none of us are perfect and therefore reserves his judgment for better days is far better than most will give you. I am extremely grateful and very much admire the fact we have extraordinary men and women protecting and building relationships in the community. I hope you too will find our chief's words as moving as I did. Best regards, Zen Sutherland. Thank you very much, Zen, for that. Next, I'd like to go ahead and motion the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of January 26th and the monthly reports from the building department and police department.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so let's jump to Optimum. So we have Samantha Pardal Horaz, yes. Thank you, Samantha, for coming. Solangel is here as well. So I'm going to put up on the screen here, and I'm going to share over Zoom the presentation. And basically, we're going to talk about the franchise agreement, the affordability of cable TV and broadband, your product suite, customer resources, weather preparedness, pole and wires education.
Correct.
So, okay.
And during the presentation, if you have any questions, please stop me and ask. Otherwise, I'll take some questions at the end.
Okay. Yeah, this is a presentation to the board, so it's the board interacting with Samantha. But if anyone here or over Zoom has any questions, please feel free to email any one of the board members, and then we can get those questions to Samantha or Solange.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, let me just get the on the screen here. Okay. Oops. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just shrink this. Okay.
All set?
Okay.
Okay, you can go to the content slide if you want. I'm just gonna do a little overview. As I mentioned, my name is Samantha Pardal Jerez. I'm Director of Government Affairs at Optimum. And tonight I'm here to provide you an overview of the services Optimum delivers, our ongoing commitment to consumer affordability, including our advocacy and participation in state and federal programs, and to share information about our network infrastructure and outage responses. Thank you. Optimum, formerly known as Altice USA or Cablevision, is a telecommunications company serving more than 5 million customers across New York State. I'm sorry, across 21 states. Our headquarters is in New York State. We provide a full range of services, including broadband, cable television, home phone, and mobile service for both residential and business customers. And we have a strong presence in news and advertising through our News 12 channel and Optima Media. Here in the town of Lewisboro, we offer broadband services of up to 1 gigabyte on our hybrid fiber coax network. And I'm proud to share that Optimum was recognized as having the fastest and most reliable internet speeds across New York State in 2025. I also want to highlight our commitment to community support programs that are dear to my heart and why I love this position. We do 2 signature programs through corporate, one being First Robotics, which supports high school robotics teams learn STEM skills and coding. And we are also partners with Donors Choose, which is a crowdfunding platform for public school teachers to put projects up to receive funding. If you're familiar with the not-for-profit STEM Alliance, we are a member there, and one of their main missions is to close the digital divide. through education and services. Next slide, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, Optimum provides a full range of connectivity services. We are at our core a connectivity company. We support households and businesses with the tools that they need for remote learning, remote work, and cloud-based transactions. Our product suite has evolved over time from just cable television to meet the demands of modern life, and we remain focused on delivering innovative and reliable solutions that keep communities connected. Thank you. So one thing I want to touch upon is a cable franchise agreement. A cable franchise agreement is essentially a contract between the company and a municipality to provide telecommunication services. What it does is regulate on a federal and state level how we have access to the public right of way. So that is, imagine all of your utility poles where we are connecting our wires above ground, and then also where our underground plant is. Currently, we have an agreement to service the town of Lewisboro that is expiring in 2030. Under that agreement, we provide a pay grant support, $43,000, as well as a technology grant, $7,000. And that does support the capital needs to do broadcasting like we're doing over Zoom, microphones.
That's
caps.
during that entire period.
Or is that annually?
Correct. It's broken up throughout the term of the agreement.
The total.
The total is 43,000 plus the 7,000. Under federal law, a cable provider does remit up to 5% franchise fees. So that's your gross revenue from the cable product back to the municipality. We remit that quarterly. That does go into the town's general fund. And that's the way that we pay to have the permission to be in the public right of way. As we transition to the next section, I do want to highlight that Optimum is deeply committed to supporting affordability for customers for cable TV and broadband. These services are essential to participate in today's economy, to access education and employment, and to stay informed in everyday life. With that in mind, let's take a look at the programs and initiatives we offer to help keep these essential services in reach to households. As many as you know, consumer behavior has changed dramatically. More and more households are moving away from traditional cable television and towards unregulated virtual competition like a Netflix. Whereas we provide the infrastructure and the content, Netflix does not. They use our system to provide their video services to your households, but remit nothing back to any municipalities. With that being said, we are working to modernize our video experience by focusing on two big priorities: affordability and giving customers choice. Everyone here probably has had a cable package at one point in their life and has seen their bill steadily increasing. One of the main reasons that bills increase is because of programming costs. Optimum is a distributor. We negotiate contracts with programmers like Disney, for example. Disney owns, making up a number, 50 different channels. We all know the Disney Channel, ESPN, ABC, those are the popular channels that they have. When they come to the negotiating table, they want our company to pay for every single channel that they own. Those costs get passed on to consumers. People's bills keep going higher. Today, fewer than 50% of US households even have a TV subscription. That leaves the 50% that do having to pay more and more each year. It's a big shift from 10 years ago when 88% of homes subscribe. As fewer people sign up, the cost for those who remain keeps going up. Programming costs are the single biggest driver of rising cable TV prices today. To combat that, what we are doing is looking for legislative relief. We support a bill that's in front of the New York State legislature today called the Television Subscriber Choice Act. This bill would only work for New York contracts, but it would basically come up with a new framework to how these contracts are negotiated and give us more flexibility to be able to bring those prices down. We want to moderate the rate that consumers pay and give more flexibility and choice into TV programming. I won't bore you with all of our different cable packages, but if you go on our website, we do have a lot of innovative options as we try to meet that need. Shifting to something that people use more frequently, broadband. Broadband affordability is an area where we are leading the way through our own offerings and through partnerships with state and local programs that bring connectivity to more households. Today, the FCC defines broadband as a speed of 100 megabits down, that's your download, and 20 megabits up, that's your upload. Here in Lewisboro, on our HFC network, we can deliver speeds up to 1 gig, which is 10 times faster than the federal benchmark. As we all saw during COVID-19, access to reliable broadband is now considered an essential service to participate in home life, school life, and employment. The biggest barrier is not access to broadband, it's cost to broadband. As of today, there's an estimated 1 million households across New York State that do not have access to broadband simply due to the rising cost. To combat that, New York State recently passed a law that went into effect in January that mandates all large ISPs, internet service providers, offer a baseline internet at 25 megabits for no more than $15 a month. Optimum has voluntarily increased that to meet the FCC benchmark of 100 megabits at the same price.
Could you go back and, sorry, could you repeat how much you say that we can download and upload?
Sure.
I know you said that up to 1 gig. but-
So in the town of Lewisboro, it's
Yeah.
up to 1 gig.
No, I know, but the statement before, the line before that,
The FCC benchmark,
no, just go
sorry.
ahead. I'll just look at your script afterwards.
Okay,
If we're gonna throw questions in, I'd like to go back to the affordability
sure.
piece, if you would.
Mhm.
You had the what was the brand name for the first item at $17 or whatever, and then you have the affordable broadband, which is part of the government mandate,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
These two are different.
Excuse me. Let's keep it down.
These
So-
two are different offerings.
So the Affordable Broadband Act, that's a New York state law that requires all large internet service providers to provide baseline internet of 25 megabits at no more than $15 a month.
And is that means tested or no? That's anybody can get that.
So the state requirement is that you have to have certain qualifications of qualifying for different government programs. As a company, we've waived all of those requirements. So anybody can call up, say they want to take the ABA offer, Affordable Broadband Act, and they would be entitled to have that.
And what did you say in terms of the speed and performance of that?
So we've voluntarily increased that speed to be 100 megabits.
That's what I was asking.
Okay.
And I can't speak for other providers, but it's possible that they're still just offering, you know. but the
Then how does it
requirement is-
differ from the, I'm sorry for belaboring.
No, that's
this,
okay.
but there was another offering up above it.
Let me see. what
No,
that
that's
was.
just the app.
Same.
It might have
Just
just
the
been,
requirement.
Just
explaining the law.
Yeah, wait, I'll.
Is it this one here?
our low cost program, Optimum Advantage Internet.
Yes. Yes, how do those two differ or not?
It's the same thing. The product name is Optimum Advantage Internet. We've offered that since 2017. Now that product just complies with the ABA law that went into effect earlier
Okay,
this
so
year.
They are one and the same.
It's one and the same. And the
Okay.
flyer that's up there,
Okay.
that's the product.
There were two.
And we did distribute this flyer through our newsletter.
Thank you.
That's great.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
And we partner with state elected officials, local governments, and our not-for-profits to get the word out about that program. Because besides from cost, one of the biggest factors too is sometimes people don't know about the programs that are available to them.
Do you have collateral that you could like send to us or leave with us so that we could distribute that if someone doesn't have the opportunity to see that
Absolutely.
online? Like we could bring it to seniors in case it's an opportunity for
I'll be
people
more
living
than
on
happy
fixed
to
income
provide
to
that.
reduce the cost of it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, one last question.
Sure.
If you opt for that particular offering, then do you still, I know with the other things, you package them up with your phone, or they're setting this, so total discount. Are those two, can you still get that kind of a package discount or no? Those are like one discount here, so
I
you're done.
believe you can, so Angel, do you know?
I don't think, so the 49, I got one on the residential side was also on. the
Residential. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then you're
I'll have to
paying
get back
the full
to you.
freight on the phone, perhaps.
Well, we have home phone, we have Optimum Mobile, our cell phone service on the
Understood.
T-Mobile
Yeah,
network.
I'm just saying that with the sort of traditional internet package, when you.
Right,
put the
where you
phone
used to
together,
be able to
there's
do the bundle.
a
Mhm.
bundle discount. Yeah, and, okay, that sounds like something we wanna understand.
Yeah. Absolutely. Any other questions on broadband? No, okay, just checking. So what I wanted to do now is go over the network configuration. I'm sure everybody has looked at a utility pole, has called in a complaint about a utility pole, whether it's double poles or hanging wires, but I wanted to just take some time to actually explain what all of the different wires are and, you know, what we do as a company with the other utilities. So before I explain the setup, I think it's important to stress that as a company, Optimum does not own any utility poles. We are simply just an attacher. So whenever wires need to be moved, whether it's repairs, upgrades, or pole replacement, we have to follow a specific order. So starting at the very top, you have primary power, and from top to bottom, you're going from highest voltage all the way to the lowest voltage. Anytime any work needs to be done on a pole, whether it's a transfer or a replacement, the electric utility always has to go first. They go into an online system and that alerts the next attacher when it is their time to go. Our infrastructure here, labeled as CATV, sits in what's called the communication space. That's where cable, broadband, and sometimes phone providers all attach their wires. You might have wires up there that were placed by a telephone company that no longer exists. They're probably not going to take them off because it's going to cost too much money. So you're going to see a lot more wires on the poles than are in this picture. These lines are what delivers television and internet services to your homes. On it, you do notice that there is an expansion loop, which is a deliberate coil of extra cable that's there to protect the line from changes in temperature and pole movement and provide slack so there's no damage done by contraction in winter or the expansion in the summer. So just to summarize, electrical utilities at top, street lighting is right in the middle, you have your communication space, and then telephone is always at the bottom with the lowest voltage. And again, because Optimum is only an attacher and not a pole owner, we have to follow strict procedures and we do not remove any poles.
But now there is a process when the utility puts up a new pole, the power utility, NYSEG in our case,
Yes,
that you're then next in the priority order to move your infrastructure over to the new pole.
yes, they will
And then-
contact us. And
Right.
if for any reason, and I know we've had experience with this, always contact my office if it's
Mhm.
not moving along the way that it should be.
Right.
What do you want people to take away, which are overwhelmingly retail customers in this town, including
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
for close to 30 years, by telling us about the network configuration and all this terminology, which you're familiar with? I mean, Tony's an engineer, so he has more background understanding. What do you want the people in the community to take away from this slide?
Mainly that when you see a low hanging wire or a wire that you think looks low, it could possibly still be in spec. So even if you call it in and it looks like it's not being taken care of, the possibility is they probably went out, did a survey and determined no work had to be done, or it's not owned by my company and they need to call in the next attacher.
You're saying if you happen to see a low hanging wire, it's not necessarily yours.
That's one way to interpret it.
We just went through that.
We did.
Where someone actually complained, they said there's a low hanging power line. And it turns out that it wasn't a power line. It was a Verizon line. So Verizon came and they fixed their line, but then there were more low hanging wires, which were Optimums, and Optimum came and that's those. Yeah.
Or if there's a double pole, which is unsightly, you know, as a non-utility company, but as an attacher, you know, we get a lot of these requests that we're fielding. So I just mainly want to explain, there's a lot of providers on the pole. They all use one system to know who's next to go. But sometimes the communication isn't always there, so it's always better. You have my contact information, let me know and I can get somebody out.
Yeah, I'll suggest to send pictures of the wire that's handled.
Mhm.
Can I have an email on my phone to send it to the right town?
Right.
They want to identify wires before, you know, like, but usually.
Right. Yeah, I've actually done that where I park my car underneath, especially when it's very low, so to see how low it is.
Very helpful.
Okay.
Okay, network outages. Maintaining a reliable internet network is incredibly complex. It's not just about the wires on the poles. It's the technology and infrastructure that keeps everything together. Keeping the network running requires constant monitoring, regular maintenance, and the ability to respond quickly when something goes wrong. In the second half of 2025, 75% of the outages of our network were actually caused by external factors, things completely outside of our control. Some of the most common causes include vandalism and theft. Mainly people are looking for copper. Severe weather, wind, ice, and falling branches. Third-party cuts from construction or utility pole crews. Commonly, if we have underground wires and you have somebody digging, they will cut right through our fiber. Power outages or damaged utility poles can take down communication lines. Obviously, we need commercial power from NYSEG to be able to operate our network. Any of this can damage infrastructure and disrupt service, not just for Optimum, but for the providers also using the poles. To help customers stay informed during an outage, we do offer a self-service outage map. I have a clip of it in the slide. It's optimum.com/outage. You can go on it, find your geographic area, and you will be able to see exactly where an outage is occurring and what the ETR is, estimated time to restore.
But that only works if you have access to the internet.
That is correct. Or if you have a mobile phone, you can pull it up on your phone, as I like to tell people. Also with your phone, we do have a system that you can sign up for automated text alerts. I know my power company sends me those all the time. There's a slide at the end that has the information that you can get the information to sign up for the text. One other important thing for everyone to understand is that without commercial power, our services cannot function. With that being said, when we know there is a large storm coming, we do a lot of preparation before, and we also need time to do restoration efforts. Our TV and internet service require electricity at multiple points. We need power inside the home, we need power on our utility poles, and we need power at our network facilities. Imagine a large data center that's actually powering everything. If the power is out and the utility still has to restore electricity, your service will probably not work. Weather, road conditions, and safety concerns all affect how quickly service can be restored. In many outage situations, especially those involving down poles or power lines, our crews have to coordinate directly with all of the local utilities and wait for repairs and inspections to take place because safety is paramount in the restoration process. Lastly, I want to highlight the tools we have for customer support and self-service. We are a technology company. We're trying to embrace AI and be more forward-thinking. We have an interactive chatbot, live agents. We've launched the My Optimum app, and we also have self-service options. All of these major improvements give customers more control over their accounts because, as we have seen, less and less people want to pick up the phone and speak with someone. They would rather troubleshoot it. Maybe it's generational. They want to troubleshoot it on their own through their phone. As we wrap up tonight, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to learn more about Optimum and let me explain to you important information about the utility poles, the outages, and our severe weather response. At the end of the day, our goal is simple. We want to provide reliable, high-speed internet to every household while also making sure that there's an affordability on the cable TV and the broadband side. So I'm more than happy to share those resources through email.
I'm just, so do you have any information as to, I think you're talking about the 85% figure and then 50% as far as basically cable is
Sure. Mhm.
having difficulty competing essentially.
Yes.
Because it's, I guess, is a disadvantage because it has infrastructure requirements that it has to deal with. So it's adding the operational costs even more. So in
Right.
town right now, do you have any statistics as how many people or families or members have a subscription to Optum right now?
I do. It is confidential, so that's information I can email over to you.
Well, it's
It's
confidential to who?
this
Because
is,
if you tell me I'm an elected official, I'm gonna tell everybody who wants to know.
well, it's competitive information to Verizon, to other carriers. So subscriber numbers, I can't say in a public forum, but there is a number that comes back on the gross revenue receipts when we remit the quarterly franchise fees that would have the number of cable subscribers.
Okay.
I just can't say that.
All right, you're fine. I'll move on to my next question then. As far as so the amount of money that the town gets through the franchise fee, what is that total amount right now?
That's also a confidential competitive secret, but if you look at the quarterly remittance form.
Well, we have a contract
We have-
answer to, is that?
Yeah,
is that-
actually,
is
our
that-
budget, we have it in our budget. Yeah, so there's a number, I forget what it is, but
Yeah.
it's roughly
Okay, I'll move on to my customer hat to wrap it up. If I want you to, I've been an Optimum customer for my time here, close to, I don't know, getting close to 30 years, but is there anything that could be done as far as the 4-hour window? Get somebody to come to the
Oh,
house?
that's like a planned question, because I have good news about that.
Well, on that specific, I tried to, because I'm the only one at home and
Mhm.
to have somebody come, I actually tried to book ahead, weeks ahead, so that I could get somebody to come as the first call. That
Okay,
essentially couldn't be done. This is 3 or 4 times to get somebody in because I was told that actually I was entitled to a upgrade as far as my internet speed. So that was an issue about from the service aspect.
sure.
And the people that I speak to on the phone will overwhelmingly seem to be trying to be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
There's a very heavy accent with a lot of the people I speak to on the phone, which makes it difficult actually for me to understand, because you were talking about the phone. I love talking to people on the phone, so it's fine by me. So especially when you find somebody that's helpful and trying to, solve a problem.
Mhm.
So that's just my feedback.
Sure. We are making an effort, and I don't know if it's launched yet, but reducing the appointment window from a 4-hour window to a 2-hour window. As far as accents, I can't really comment on that.
As far as someone who lives in Vista, we regularly have no internet service as also an Optimum, full disclosure, an Optimum customer.
Mhm.
And my husband works from home several days a week. And it can be frustrating, and we've been told you were going to upgrade the systems to fiber optic,
Uh-huh.
but then it stopped. Is
Mhm.
there anything in the books as far as upgrading the rest of us?
Well, regarding the service issues, especially if you don't feel like it's an isolated incident and it's a recurring problem, whether it's your neighborhood or your specific home, do follow up with me after, because I do want to just do a review to make sure.
I think it's a neighborhood issue, not a.
Yeah, and
I follow up with me, because we have an ability to look into the network, and if there's maintenance that needs to be performed, we can definitely perform the maintenance, but.
I think she's looking more for the.
Well, actually, if you're gonna speak, we want to get you on, if you have to
Oh,
speak at
I
that
can
mic
get
so
that mic.
everybody can hear
Okay,
you.
that's
I don't.
Thank you, though. Regarding the fiber upgrade, there are no current plans to continue building fiber, but if that does change, I will definitely inform the town board.
Well, what you did was you ran fiber as like the main trunk line.
Yeah,
Right.
so all of.
That's the hybrid.
Correct, so
Fiber
all of the
coax.
wires on the poles, those are fiber lines.
Right.
It's the demarcation of when it actually enters the home, that's called the HFC network, it converts to coax.
So I just wanted to relay some information from our cable committee, and from Dean Travelino and Henry Wolf, who are on that committee, and just they wanted to just recognize Jennifer Olaya, who has been a
Oh,
customer
sure.
service representative that's been helping Henry with some of the issues that he's having with our Channel 20.
Great,
So they did ask that I publicly just acknowledge that.
thank you.
I think they also appreciate the live representatives as opposed to the AI, so they did want me to express that.
Mhm.
I also just wanted to make sure that I don't fully understand some of the language that they use in the cable, because I'm still learning that, but just that as we move forward with more streaming, that Henry has put a lot of effort and energy into our cable channel
Mhm.
20, and anything that we can do to make sure that that's maintained would be
Absolutely.
important to us.
So under federal law, we're required to offer up to 3 channels for you to broadcast public educational and government access.
So I think they're looking for just that it would be live at all times with a banner. I think that's what he's been working on with Jennifer.
Oh, okay. If he has any roadblocks, Jennifer's great. You can always contact me and I can help.
I second that comment on staying away from AI. Human beings have a tendency to listen better and not hallucinate or confabulate.
Okay.
You can't tell us how many mobile subscribers you have, I'm sure, either. But I'm just curious, is there any way you can characterize? I'm just curious about the mobile offering. It's not well known, perhaps, relative, doesn't get as much advertising.
So Optimum Mobile is basically called an MVNO, which means that we provide the service on the backbone of T-Mobile's network. So it's almost like white labeling a product that you're getting the T-Mobile experience, but through Optimum Mobile. Not to do a sales pitch, but if you go on our website, you'll see our different offers regarding the Optimum Mobile. Free phones, discounted service.
And of course, different companies have different reach in different geographic areas. That would be the question around here, whether or not it would be a service that was reliable or not.
Oh, regarding cell coverage?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
If you could
Mhm.
show us maps of that or send out maps.
I'm not particularly certain we have maps. A lot of cell service discussions are kind of anecdotal of my cell service works great, it doesn't. I would say if T-Mobile works well, the Optimum Mobile will work.
okay, right, that helps.
And I can also send you collateral on that if you're interested in learning more.
Great.
Do this.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Samantha and
Great podcast.
Solanco, thank you. And we'll be in touch with any questions.
Yeah.
And you're more than welcome to stay if you want, but I know you got
A
a
long
lot.
drive,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have an appointment to the Landmarks Advisory Committee for a term expiring December 31st, 2027. This is to appoint Teresa Longier. So I'd like to go ahead and motion that we appoint Teresa to the Landmarks Advisory Committee for a term expiring December 31st, 2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Next, I'd like to go ahead and motion that we appoint Pia Dorson to the Advisory Committee for the Disabled for a term expiring December 31st, 2028. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Next is an agreement with KSCJ Consulting for our MS4 Municipal Interim Progress Certifications and Annual Report. This is for the Stormwater Management Program.
It's that we authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with KSCJ Consulting for the Stormwater Management Program for the year 2026.
What's the amount of this?
$6,000, $6,000.
Not to exceed.
It's a roll call expenditure.
It's the interim progress certification and annual reports.
Okay, roll call. Julia.
Aye.
Aye.
Mary Shaw, aye.
Dan Welsh, aye.
Who was the second? Dan made the motion.
I thought Tony made a motion, Dan seconded.
No, Dan motion.
Oh, then someone needs to second it.
Yeah, who seconded it?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Next is a resolution, or I'll let somebody else read it.
This is to authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with KSCJ Consulting for Stormwater Management Program for the year 2026. This is a little different in that it's concerning illicit discharge detection and elimination, as well as stormwater outfall inspections and GIS mapping.
Second.
Discussion?
These are both regulatory that we have to do or statutory each year, right?
Yeah, it's required by the, right,
The
by the
SMO.
DEC.
Your stormwater maintenance officer also.
Correct, right.
You have to have.
Okay, roll call. Julia?
Aye.
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 Mary Shaw, aye.
Dan Welsh, aye.
Okay. Next is a resolution affirming the Fourth Amendment protections and lawful policing practices when federal immigration enforcement is present in the town.
It's a discussion. It's not actually a resolution. It's a discussion
Okay.
of the resolution.
Okay, so, so open to discussion, board members?
Yeah, I'm happy to throw out some comments here. There's obviously a lot of people trying to be excited about this. I would say, first of all, the comments about do the town's work, not this, and I would just, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can do something like this and
You gotta
just
speak
gonna
louder.
say that in terms of the comments about, focusing on town business, we can do both. We can do both. But, in terms of why this resolution is being done, it's not about criticizing the police department. That's obviously not our intent. It is rather about the all of the stuff that's going on now around the nation and in our county. And I know there's a lot of folks who are like, well, you know, that's not our business. But I would offer to you the old saying we all know, which is it's, you know, first they came for yada yada. And that's usually spoken with respect to individuals, but there's really no reason that us as a town shouldn't take that same attitude. If our towns around us are being subjected to these assaults on the rights of individuals and are struggling with that, there's no good reason for us to sit back and pretend that that's not going on. The stories that come out every day are just horrific. Right? You know, people being killed, something like 30 individuals so far killed, either on the streets or in the ICE detention centers. There's huge budget going to these folks who are going out on the streets and completely ignoring due process. This is the focus. It's on due process, right? People are not getting their rights read to them. There's no warrant.
Excuse me, let's not make any noise in the audience, please. Thank you.
So this is the focus. It's on due process, and we as a town are simply saying that we see this going on. We want to step up and add our voices, because there are many voices out there talking about this, to this discussion, and reaffirming that these are just basic rights that we should be respecting.
Yeah, but that's not what the title of the resolution is, Dan. The resolution is talking about when federal immigration enforcement is present in the town of Lewisboro. So, and also in the whereas clauses, the initial whereas is talking about New York law requiring local law enforcement officers. And then it's talking about, goes on to another section, international condemnation for violating basic human rights. And then it goes on to the town's commitment to constitutional policing. So there's certain things here that are specifically directed towards our town police. And it was one of the comments that I heard. All of us here, one of the roles that we have is each as police commissioners. So we oversee the police department here. And I'm questioning, because this is what the import of this is. There's no doubt about things that are going on in other places and the horrific things that are going on in various different examples in parts of the country. I don't think anybody could seriously dispute that incidents have gone on. But the question is here, and that's what's before us, is why do we need a resolution essentially indicating that we have to tell the Lewisboro Police Department to uphold the law when these people are sworn peace officers who have taken an oath specifically to uphold federal, state, and local laws. That's their solemn oath that they took as police officers. And especially as one of the speakers talked about bringing up any examples. So it's kind of a little bit undermining our faith potentially in the Lewisboro Police Department and the leadership of the Lewisboro Police Department, especially when we're sitting here in the roles in the town of Lewisboro as effectively police commissioners. So we're making a statement essentially undermining our confidence, our public confidence that we have in the Lewisboro Police Department. And that's separate and apart from things that are going on out in the world. To me, it's two different things as I see it.
If I can speak to that, I actually met with Dave. So I met with Dave Alfano on Friday morning for 2 hours to talk about his needs. I'm the liaison to the police department, so I wanted to understand what his needs are, and get more information, and we're gonna meet regularly just so I can understand what the practices are and how I can support their needs. Vehicles were top of his list. And we talked about this and the fact that I had introduced it, and my goal in introducing it is not to undermine them, but to support them and make sure that they know that we are fully going to back them if in fact ICE officers were here and we're asking them to go against what the oath is that they've made. It feels very strongly about the oath that he took, and he specifically said, I have no problem with this resolution, and you can share that with your board colleagues. So my goal here is to clarify this and to support all of our police officers in upholding the laws that they have sworn to us.
And what,
So it may be not necessary. I will defy, this is a discussion.
so then what do you think is unclear that needs to be clarified by way of a resolution on this?
I think that when other agencies enter a municipality, there's times where the pressures of the other agencies may create confusion, and it's important for us to support our local police to be able to uphold their oaths when it may be in defiance of things that are coming against them from federal agencies.
And also something that Dan brought up, actually, as far as the county you're mentioning, because one of the things that we do have, I did a little legwork, we have a 2018, I think it's called the Immigration Protection Act.
2017. There was the first one was actually passed by I think the only board member here that was on that board was Dan. That was before all of us.
Well, I'm looking at Act number 19 of 2018.
Oh, are we talking about the county one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, sorry.
Westchester County Immigration Protection Act.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to Dan's point as far as the county. So the county passed legislation, and that's focused primarily on county agencies and county employees, but that was something that the county board took up back in 2018 to address this stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and as did the state. I mean, Dave shared with me, this was from the New York State Office of the Attorney General, where they provided the police departments their guidance concerning local authorities' participation in immigration enforcement and model provisions. So he is working under those guidelines today.
So there are already county.
There's state, there's county.
There are already county and state guidance and framework legally set up. And my first reaction when I read this was, Chief Alfano has been a big proponent and advocate for community policing. And he's done a fine job, a stellar job of taking care of and protecting our community and upholding the laws of the town, of the county, and the state. Do we really need this additional? And that's
We shouldn't need any of this if the ICE was actually following the laws, and like we could do without any of this. Excuse me,
Yeah, it's no public comment at this
we wouldn't
point.
need any of this. So you find that there's many government levels who are issuing things like this, just to restate that this is the way our legal system is supposed to work, and we are going to proceed on that basis. And I think Julie is right to provide this clarification to the police department. There's no harm to that, because in the probably unlikely event that ICE is here and engaged in unlawful practices, that does set up a very difficult situation for them. They should know that we have their back in terms of executing their duties, and we've been clear about that.
Don't you think there's a difference for, say, federal ICE officials who have, based upon watching TV and video, have violated people's constitutional rights in different places in the country, as opposed to passing a resolution here in Lewisboro, where affirming Fourth Amendment protections and lawful policing practices here in the town? And
which ICE policing practices, as we have seen, have not been lawful.
Yeah,
so that is to say, when those practices are unlawful, that we will uphold the Constitution by taking action against those unlawful
What is it saying what is it saying we're gonna do here in Lewisboro? It hasn't been an issue here.
Uphold the Constitution and the
But,
laws.
We already swore when we took the oath of office to uphold,
Understood. Yeah.
and we're supposed to be doing it now.
Then
I'm
I'm saying that
doing
we
it.
shouldn't need any of this, but levels of government all over the place are issuing statements like this because they want to be on record.
But all of us took an oath of office
Right.
and the same way the LPD, all those officers there as police officers, peace officers. So we all have that oath. By having a resolution, you're basically, I think, diluting or undermining the sanctity of the oath that we all took as far as being in this office as well as our local law enforcement. The problem is not us following our oath or LPD following their oath. The issue is people outside of, this community, not following, in certain circumstances, what they're supposed to do under federal law. That's the issue. And putting a resolution in our backyard, which is not doing anything to address the valid concerns and the valid problems and the valid issues that are going on in other places. This resolution doesn't address that problem or do anything to bring attention to it here or apply here. It's just, it's a bit of a round peg in a square hole.
I mean, all the whereas is pretty playing with attention to it.
Well, the concern, another concern I have is by bringing up immigration and customs enforcement and putting a proclamation out, it could, for all intents and purposes, put a bullseye on the town of Lewisboro.
Well, I guess, if all communities and all individuals use that philosophy, we would all stay in our homes with the doors shut and make sure that we were not in a bullseye.
I'm not saying to be afraid, but I'm saying to be careful and to be thoughtful about.
Of all the municipalities in Westchester, we probably have the least to worry about in terms of being a bullseye. Right, and I think the least we can do, as I say, is recognize that elsewhere in Westchester, this is a very real issue in nearby communities in Ossining, and it's getting worse.
Ossining, Mount Kisco,
Portchester.
Norwalk,
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie,
Right.
Danbury. I've seen it, but this isn't going to stop.
I'm open to modifying it until we get comfortable with something.
But we could spend every day and every meeting talking about resolutions that we want to put out, anything condemning anti-Semitism. That could be the next meeting, and the meeting after that. We could have unending amounts of resolutions, all of which would be affirming things that are the common good and that we believe in. But that gets away from the tasks at hand and the day-to-day
The difference
business.
being that we are in serious trouble at this point. This agency has $150 billion budget, hired a bunch of people who have zero qualifications. They're sticking guns in people's faces on a daily basis, and they're coming to a neighborhood near you. This is serious stuff. This is not the same as just another welcoming solution. So, as I say, I'm open to changing wording. I think it behooves us to be a part of the larger community here in Westchester and the state and the country, and recognize that.
Well, on that point, are you aware of any other municipalities in Westchester that have enacted comparable resolutions with this language?
With this kind of language, I am not.
I think Greenberg recently.
Oh.
Greenberg, I guess also.
You may be right, that's right. They did something. Yeah. And, and there've been other statements, I don't know if they're resolutions, say.
And I think ultimately, when multiple agencies are operating at the same time, it's good to have clarity. I brought this up as a discussion point. So the way to discuss things is to propose a resolution It's not a resolution at this point, and if there isn't support for it, I think we have had a discussion, which is important. In that discussion, we've expressed our support of our local police and have expressed the fact that we support them 100% in upholding the law when other agencies may not be. So it's may not be necessary at all, and I'm not attached to it, but the way to have the discussion is to propose the resolution in the first place. So that is my goal in doing this. It's why it's discussion, not a resolution. And I'm happy to defer to the board as to how we proceed.
We can table it for the moment, just clearly, we'll see if somebody comes up with an inspiration that rings a little bit more comfortably with everyone else.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear, this is not, I discussed this with Dave. I wouldn't have come to this meeting without having the conversation with him. And he fully understands that we support him and the work that he does, and that the goal of this was for clarification and support.
And this came up about a year ago when this whole thing with ICE started, and.
Yeah, you guys went to a training.
Yeah, you weren't around, but David, this is when he shared, I have the email here, when he shared with me the guidelines that the Attorney General's office passed down to the police department. So, and there have been questions from the public and people that, again, this is going back to about a year ago, where they wanted to know, what are you doing? What are you not doing? What are the rules here? And this is when I had a discussion with Dave, so I can properly answer those folks. But he made it, clear, without a judicial warrant, LPD is not going to get involved.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, so next we have short-term rental regulations. So we have a draft, proposed final, I should say. And we would like to set a hearing for March 23rd for that document, for these new regulations. So I'd like to go ahead and motion that we set a public hearing for March 23rd.
Do we,
Second.
Second, and then, yeah.
Discussion.
Inputs.
at this point, do they know how the process works? As far as like, there's different things as far as that are not in there, as far as costs and things that this is something that's supposed to go before the building inspector. There's a lot of.
So the housing committee, the building inspector have all provided their input.
No, but there's a lot of stuff as far as I'm talking about specifically the draft language of it.
Okay, so so this is an opportunity for everybody to provide their input, including the public.
During the public
Public hearing, but yeah, exactly.
Today, we're just setting the date.
Correct.
I think when you say costs, are you talking about the various fees involved?
Yeah, there's a lot of drafting as far as, because in other words, process wise, we'd have a public hearing, and then at that point, there's a potential opportunity to enact legislation following the public hearing. And I don't think that if we were to go to the public hearing, I just wanted to, telegraph that. I don't think that the language is sufficiently specific that if we would go to a public hearing, that we should be adopting it. And I don't think we're at that point yet, based upon the current language. I just want to.
Well, the fees are separate. That'll go under a fee schedule, which we have to approve with whatever the fees are.
Yeah, my, and I brought this up before, but my general conceptual problem here is that the legislation is not necessarily solving the problem effectively. A lot of as far as the issue is what we're trying to do, so defining what we're trying to do by the legislation, and does this legislation as drafted actually further that purpose? So as I talked about before, for example, one of the issues that could come up, which is totally legitimate, is somebody having a complaint. So there's a big party, somebody rents somebody's house during the summer, making a whole bunch of noise, they're having parties every day, etc. That's a legitimate concern. That's an impingement upon quality of life, etc. But this legislation doesn't do anything more than the existing code would do by calling up the police. Hey, there's a loud party next to me. You guys enforce the code referable to noise or anything else. That's already in existence, and adopting this would not solve that problem any better legislatively than what we already have, for example.
So
That's
are you-
separate.
Right, but are you saying that this adopting any legislation at all solves no problem or?
I
is
mean,
no
yeah, I don't know,
use?
like, for example, like the intent, one of the things in the intent is talking about to regulate people who own their home fee simple to, that the legislative intention is rental income. That's one of the things that's talked about in the preamble, as far as people being able to make money off of their home. If you didn't have this legislation, somebody can do that. You don't have to legislation to accomplish the financial purpose of doing that. And one of the things that it has, it's setting parameters, which is a rental of 30 days or less. And I said this last year. So if somebody wanted to rent it for 31 days,
They
you
can't.
have- well, you can, no,
Correct.
you can do a month to month, for example. You can do stuff to get around this. We gotta find out what the real issue is. One of the things that we all know is that you could go, and I know from people in town I've seen, you could go in the warmer months and you could go online and you could see all the underground VRBOs and things that are available around certain lake communities. That already exists. And one of the things I'm also concerned, if you do this legislatively, under the health, safety, and welfare component, you may drive a lot of this underground, further underground, which is not helping things.
But then they get reported and then they go to court.
Well, again, it's the same thing, get reported, the same thing if you have an allowed party. That's really the issue. In other words,
Right.
one of the things it's also talking about is, as far as signing up, is making sure, for example, that you're complying with code inside your house. There's certain things you're supposed to do already. You're supposed to comply with the law. It's supposed to be safe. You're supposed to get a certificate of occupancy. One of the things that's also not being addressed is a provision, for example, for liability insurance.
But
One-
can I just
Let me
jump
finish
in?
this one point on the liability insurance. But one of the things we don't know, for example, if you have something that's a rental, then all of a sudden people may not be aware that they can't get homeowners insurance. God forbid they have a claim and it's not covered because it turns out that their home is turned from being exclusively residential to kind of a hybrid residential and commercial.
But that's the responsibility of the homeowner to identify that, not for us to legislate.
Well, it's something that people aren't aware, and even the insurance companies aren't necessarily aware. That's a big issue that people
What
aren't
does
necessarily
not having,
know.
well, what does not having a regulation do to help that? You're kind of not making your own case there, in a sense. The other point.
Well, you have
made
it
about-
under the
about,
devil,
like,
you know, in part is what it is. You know what things are and how things are existing. You know that you have to keep your home safe. You know that there's a noise ordinance for things. People can't have a gathering that's unsafe. There's things in the fire code, there's things in the town code, there's things that exist that are on the books and have been there for a long time. And again, I've yet to hear in the paper, et cetera, if literally a handful of people have had legitimate complaints, quality of life type complaints in the summer, that's not doesn't necessarily make sense to have legislation that applies to everybody on a problem that is fairly narrowly defined in a community of what, over 4,000 households. How many complaints have there been in this community of 4,000 households referable to this issue and the byproduct of purportedly illegal rentals?
So
You know, yeah.
complaints are not the only purpose of this. For example, there's another, sort of philosophical issue around the relationship of the number of these units and how easy it is to do it, and the change to the character of the neighborhood. Are they going to all be commercial and owned by third parties, outside of town? Or
Well, that's a legitimate.
are they owner occupied units? So at least they're people who are concerned with the neighborhood. These are.
Well, that, for example, that issue, which is also a legitimate thing, you don't want any, a bunch of a corporation buying a whole.
So that's the kind of thing
So one of the things you could do potentially is you can restrict ownership by a corporate type entity in a particular
That-
geographic
that-
area, for
that's in
example.
here.
That's in here.
That's in here now. So my recommendation is, this is a very complex subject. Nobody is proposing like this is gonna go to hearing. We're just gonna boom, do it. It's never gonna change. Like from the experience from the other towns nearby, multiple hearings, lots of people coming in, lots of different range of different opinions. I think we need something to put out there to give the public something to start with, to start giving feedback.
Don't you think the first point should be identifying this particular scope of the problem we have in Lewisboro to the extent we have it?
Well,
And then try
that's
to
what we
legislate
did
based upon
for a
what that
couple of
is?
years
That's what the
now,
housing committee
in the
has done.
housing committee.
And the building inspector.
Well, I
So
haven't
this is
seen,
based on their input,
well,
which
there's
has
not,
been shared with the board.
no, there's nothing really quantifying complaints that have happened over a period of time and what the problem is we're trying to solve.
Do me a favor, reach out to the housing committee.
Again, it's not.
No, I
this-
mean, I saw when Linda was here and I was asking
And?
questions as far as that.
And
And
what was their
what?
answer?
I didn't hear much by way of complaints. I mean, there are some for sure, going back.
Okay,
So I'm
well,
going
maybe-
back to the same
Maybe we
thing.
go back
Follow
to
up.
this legislation, we say, you know what, all the stuff in here that has anything to do with complaints, we chop it out because there are no complaints, so we're left with whatever the other stuff is in here. Like that, all those points can be brought up and all the pros and cons. Hey, but if we just say, I'm not sure like that this does what we want it to do, but we don't. We know individually what our sort of inclinations are, but we haven't had hearings, we haven't had the input from the public. I feel like without those next steps, it's very difficult. We've had the housing committee has been on this for like 2 years
Long time.
now. And we've had some discussions here. It's time to open up the conversation.
My point is that it should be narrowly tailored from the beginning as far as how it's drafted. That's just my.
What I would
perspective.
recommend is you provide your recommendations back to us and the housing committee.
Well, again, my recommendations.
No,
would
just
be-
chop, yeah.
My recommendations, and I know we mentioned this came out of a prior meeting. You've heard a couple of complaints. So you've had a handful of complaints. That's legitimate and going back to what I said. So, but literally in the last 5 years, if there's been a half a dozen complaints, 6 or 10 complaints over the last 5 years about houses that were rented on the lake and impinging upon people's quality of life, that means we have a relatively narrow issue that we have to address, and legislatively it should comport with what our problem is unique to the town and try to legislatively address it if we need to in the most narrow way.
And so that's what's being done here.
I
But
don't-
if you want to take it further than what's already drafted,
there's nothing here,
open to
there's nothing
suggestions.
here in the legislative intent or any of the drafting where anybody has quantified the
that's not,
nature of
you
what the
don't
component.
need in legislation,
Well,
it's
you
been
come-
discussed, you could,
You come up with legislative intent.
you
predicated
can
upon
talk
what
with
the
some
issue is.
residents in lake communities who are faced with this time after time, and it needs to be addressed, right?
What needs to be addressed? That's what I'm getting to, Tony. What do you think needs to be addressed? It's a fair point.
But I think
There's a lot of
we've
things.
discussed this in the past, and I was not on the board, but participated in public comment that where there is existing ordinances, we don't necessarily need to legislate them, right? So like to your point, if it's a noise issue or a parking issue, then we have laws that already address those, but I think the parts of it that don't, so I think the opportunity, what you're saying is, what is that narrow focus that you think would be appropriate? And we can talk about that at
Excuse
the
me.
public hearing.
In the audience, Gail, we're having a hard time hearing and we're sitting at the same table. So if I could ask you to please, as a point of order, keep the comments quiet in the audience. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So I'm just saying, I think if you can define the narrowing, I'm certainly interested in what you're saying. And I think there's an opportunity to think about also other things like maybe it would be helpful to have some materials for people who are thinking about renting their properties to make them aware of the risks that you're talking about, right? Like, so what does it mean to want to rent your property. We can also inform people it may make them choose not to, which would manage some of the expansion of the short-term rental, right? So I think there's a couple of different ways we can address this. I'm certainly interested in hearing your feedback, but I think we would do that in a public hearing so we can hear from the community as well.
But like I said, one of the things you can go underground and you could rent different houses in the lakes. You can do that. So if, let's say, there are 50 that are available in the community, then we have a certain amount that we know over a certain period of time. And that's something that's quantifiable to see how much of an issue or how much of a concern it's got. Not draft something broadly and then see what sticks to the wall legislatively. We got to first see if then we have a problem.
That's not how this was drafted. This was the housing committee went over this for a long time and they made a presentation to us.
Yeah.
And they had a matrix with all the different factors they considered.
Right.
And so it was very thoughtful.
It absolutely
amount of
was.
work that went
100%.
into that.
100%.
And
this is the output of that.
I was on the
Yeah.
housing committee too. Absolutely. There's great people on the housing committee. No doubt about it.
I mean, you're presenting it as if this was we just took something off the shelf and threw it there.
Not at
It's
all.
not the case.
Not at all. But what I want it to be, very simply and straightforward, I want it to tie into addressing a specific legislative need if we have one.
And that's what that
Housing committee is trying to do.
It's specific matters related to this, contemplating them, responding to those, and then based on that, drafting this up. I mean, that's the intent to address.
So what I would recommend is let's go ahead and set the public hearing. You go back to the housing committee with your specifics that you're looking to see in this legislation. And we'll take it from there. Okay. So would you like to motion?
I thought you already did.
Oh, did I motion?
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
discussion.
We were in discussion.
We were in
Discussion
discussion.
mode.
And you seconded it, Mary.
Right.
Okay, so in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, for the hearing, okay.
Okay.
Oh, we set the time for that hearing?
March 23rd.
It's 23rd.
Right. Okay.
Comment number 2.
Public comment number 2. Anyone here would like to speak?
I was listening to the town board members, and I just like to thank Mary, Tony, and Richard for acting sensible, and Dan acting as he always does. He always bleeds for everybody else, but he never bleeds for the people that really hurt, like the Jews in New York on the campuses that were being attacked. You never said one thing about that, but you'll bleed for every other anti-American group in the country, if not the world. I took offense the way you phrased or said that ICE is committing crimes and putting guns in people's faces. Has any one of those people been arrested? Has any of the actions they've taken been stricken from a court or the Supreme Court? No, you might not like what they're doing. And some things I don't like what they're doing. But to characterize federal employees doing a job, that is really the lowest thing you can do. So you don't change.
So Glenn, if I could just jump in, let's stick to the actual business side. You're attacking a board member, which is not appropriate, but let's just stick to the business side. Thank you. Thank you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see what else I wrote here. I'll end it with this. This resolution was not about backing up the police department. But I like the way you pivoted and you double spoke that the resolution was backing up the police department, because you could have easily had a resolution backing up the police department. But I think you didn't get the reaction from the people here. So you quickly pivoted and made it seem like you were backing up the police department. And for you to say that you spoke to David Alfano and he agreed with you, you're police commissioners. Do you think that's a wise career choice to question, disagree with one of their bosses? Makes no sense. So if you want to introduce a resolution backing up the police department, I'll be here and I'll support that because that's what you said you wanted to do, not undermine them, which you did do. Thank you.
Anybody else here would like to speak?
Evening. Also like to thank the statements by council members Glaring and Shaw, and I thought they brought a high level of analysis and maturity on a very important issue. At best, this resolution is an empty piece of paper, but in reality, it is much, much worse. It does absolutely nothing to address an important issue. We live in a federal constitutional republic. We are a local town, and it is arrogance and insulting by one member to actually attack federal law enforcement who themselves have taken an oath. They are duly authorized. We are a country that does have a border, that does have a right to regulate that border, that does have a right to take law enforcement action against people committing crimes. And we also do have a judiciary. And in our court system, if a branch of government, the executive branch, is violating that, we have the ability to bring a case. And it is the height of arrogance to think us in our town is going to comment on actually how federal law enforcement work on actions all throughout the country. It is not our job, do not have the facts, do not know what's going on. And then to then have the arrogance to say that those people who are trained, who put their lives on the line on a daily basis, are actually unqualified, that are breaking the law with no knowledge whatsoever, is insulting. And you should be embarrassed to make that statement. And to also then put our citizens and our law enforcement professionals who do work hard, and I'm very grateful that the supervisor started off this evening with that wonderful story about Chief Alfano, to put him and his team in that bucket and to put a target on their backs. And there's a reason that law enforcement are having issues. And I work for a not-for-profit in my free time as a security chair and interface with law enforcement in the county and on the federal level. And the attacks that are happening on law enforcement are outrageous. And we all should be embarrassed, and we should support our fellow citizens who are just trying to enforce the law. And to make the assumption that they're breaking the law is outrageous. And to be in a position that all the council members are to actually try to pass this resolution, to basically imply that our federal government is breaking the law, that we're somehow being immoral, that we need to have a foreign country judge us and say, are we not being moral, is also outrageous. So let's focus on the business of our town. If we're worried about saving lives, I have a great idea for you. How about look at 684 and there's no northbound entrance ramp off 22? How about working on that? How about working on trying to figure out ways to make lives better? How about taking a look at the Lewisboro Shopping Center and why every time my kids I have 3 kids in John Chase school system, why we have to walk by a tobacco shop with a sign about illegal activity? Maybe have a conversation about that if you're so interested in getting involved in law enforcement. Thank you.
Steve, I know who you are, but Hamlet and name, just for.
Sure. Stephen Edward, Lewisboro.
Anyone else here would like to speak?
Thank you. It's Evelyn Westerveld, and I have lived in the community for 27 years.
Can't hear you.
I've lived in the community for 27 years here, and kids went through the beautiful public school system. This is a very brief statement, but I don't think that it's appropriate for any person who we have put in a responsible role here in our town to use the terms to move their personal political views in here. The word assault, and ignoring due process. I think that has nothing to do with the running of the town and the responsibilities that we have voted you into position to take care of. And that kind of terminology is very personal. And I don't think it has any place here in a meeting like this.
Anyone else like to speak? How about on Zoom?
Yes. Barbara Mangione, I'm asking you to unmute, please.
How is that?
That's great.
Okay, thank you. So 2 items from new business. The first is the most recent one you discussed, which was short-term rentals. I had the privilege of sitting in on a lot of those meetings, and that committee did do a lot of work on short-term rentals. They put a lot of data together. They discussed, they went to other towns to see what they were doing. And short-term rentals just don't apply to the lake areas. There are other areas, and anybody could use their house as a short-term rental. But in specific, the lake areas are dealing with things such as septic systems. If you have too many people renting a house out, noise, the homes are very close together, parking. If there's not enough parking in a small driveway, they're then on the streets and emergency vehicles cannot get through. Congestion, and most importantly, quality of life. So I think if you take a look at, if you kind of review everything, I personally, I'm not on the board, but I personally think they did a very good job of, kind of quantifying everything that they're trying to address. But I do also want to say then, on the other hand, as a resident for over 34 years now, I would like to see this same kind of attention be put towards other things that come up in our community, which affect quality of life. For example, when we start talking about accessory dwelling units and how people could add to their houses so that they could either rent to family members or somebody else, or you're talking about transit-oriented development around train stations, those also become quality of life issues. And just because they address one thing doesn't mean that they don't cause problems for other residents in the community. So if we're going to look at short-term rentals and say there are true issues when it comes to renting houses in certain areas in town, like the lake communities, well, there are also issues, in other parts of town that decisions you make as a board regarding housing could affect us as well. The other thing I just wanted to say when it came to Optimum, I know the board knows, and I know you know, Tony, you did answer me. I did ask ahead of time back on Friday if there was any information from Optimum that could be shared with the residents. At that time, you said you didn't have anything. I would really like in the future for the residents personally and for residents to know what's going to be presented. Because I know you read Facebook too. There are so many problems with Optimum in this community because Optimum is pretty much what some people only have access to. From very slow service for at least a couple of years now to weeks without service when there's a problem. People cannot get a hold of anybody at the company. They wait weeks for a service person to come out and then they get canceled on. So it really would have been nice for people to have sent all of these questions to you so that this could have been addressed. The woman was very nice. I personally think it was a very whitewashed presentation of what they wanted to put out there. But
Sorry.
I'm sorry, let me finish up. It was a lot of window dressing with very little.
Scott Sabazinski, I'm asking you to unmute. Scott Sabazinski, I'm asking you to unmute. I'll ask,
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. It's Michelle Sobosinski. I'm just using Scott Zoom.
Hamlet?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What hamlet are you with?
Oh, South Salem. It'll be 40 years this 4th of July. So I too want to thank Ms. Shaw and Ms. Scalarin for your comments about the resolution. I'm perplexed as to why this resolution or the discussion about a possible resolution was even raised. It was very much just a political statement, in my view. And I didn't catch the gentleman's name that I believe was the first speaker. I might have missed the first public comment, but Mr. Supervisor, you said you stopped him and said that he was attacking a board member. Well, in my opinion, the board member would not have been attacked. If you would please stop him from ranting about his opinions on these national issues. There's truly no place for it in our town board meetings. I don't care about his opinions on Gaza or ICE. They shouldn't be part of our town's agenda. He has no data to back up his statement that ICE breaks the law. It's too generalized. He is just attacking them in much the same manner that you accuse that gentleman of attacking him. I support our local police, our county police, our state police, and our federal police. And I would really appreciate if we would just turn our attention to local issues. And just quickly about Optimum, I agree with Barbara. It was a whitewash presentation. Those issues that keep coming up have been coming up for 40 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not Scott.
You're right. Okay, have a good night. Letitia Stapleton, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, good evening, all. I really don't like speaking like this, but I am so hurt and so tired of every meeting. Someone is bashing, the same 5 people keep bashing Dan when I feel like well, let me jump to the other thing. ICE. You don't know what it's like being Black or brown. You don't know the feelings that we have. So therefore, it is an issue. And yes, they don't obey by the laws. Not all, but there are some that just not respecting our constitutional laws. So therefore, please make sure that we should be more united than apart. We should not be fighting about, oh, ICE is not here or ICE, we don't care. No, it should be for all of us, whether it's our next door neighbors.
Let's stick to the business items if you don't mind. So if you wanted to speak specifically to the resolution or the discussion, you can do that.
Yes, that's part of the resolution.
Okay.
That I would like more unity and more, I feel like it should be brought up. Oh, and also Cablevision or Optimum or whatever, it's horrible. So I just had to put that in there too. But anyway, about the resolution, I think that I'm glad it was raised. I'm glad that it was spoke about. Like, I'm grateful for that. But now we just need to stick together and work through it. But don't single us out. We can't hide our color.
Thanks, Letitia. Anybody else, John?
All right, thank you, Letitia.
Thank you.
And we are good.
All right. Okay, next we have polling of the board. So I'll start with Julia.
Great. I wanted to thank Carrie Wolf and John Lemke and Maureen Cole for a really wonderful event that they had for celebrating 200th birthdays in town. And also Maureen provided some really wonderful context and history about the experience of World War II veterans. And she told some really touching stories. It was a really nice night. And so thank you, Carrie, for helping to organize that. I did also just want to thank Dave Alfano for the time he made to meet with me last Friday, and I'm looking forward to working with him and supporting him. I do want to thank Janet for providing us with the rules of order for the meeting. And I would love to have a conversation at an upcoming meeting about committee reporting out. I think, we're all liaisons to committees in town, and I think it would be important to represent the work that the volunteers who are on those committees are doing and report that out to the community who may not be aware of all of that good work that's happening. So I'd love to think about the rules of order sets the agenda for the meeting. So I'd love to think about that, as well as the financial reporting, so that we think about how are we reporting out to the community on the financial status of the town. So those are all part of the rules of order. So if it's something we could do in a meeting, maybe February or March, to review those and have a conversation about what we want to make sure we're publicly talking about and making the community aware of, that would be great.
Okay. Rich?
Thanks. Actually, I just, as it came up, Greg, just as far as what are about the battery storage component, as far as if, and I'm not asking you to do it on the fly, but what is our options at this point? Referable to moratorium or whatever else? I thought we did something.
Well, you just enacted your zoning, okay? And when
Right,
you
we
went-
were waiting for, right.
Okay, and you went through in terms of the report back on the draft version, you ended up legislating on solar energy, but it's silent right now on BESS, okay?
On BESS. We
Correct.
had a discussion about
Correct.
the moratorium, and our decision at the time said, well, since there's nothing in the plans, that we would wait, because there is a limit on the how long you can do a moratorium.
Isn't
Yes.
absolutely is, and
Right, because
budget
somebody
you
said
have
it
to
wasn't.
pass a moratorium while there's a pending application.
So can we do isn't it a 6 month
I
moratorium we can do?
I wouldn't suggest more than 6 months.
So we can do 6 months in advance of any
Yeah.
anything on the table, so but as we
You can make whatever determination and findings to support the moratorium while you're investigating the impacts and contemplating legislation. The moratorium is a local law. You have to have a public hearing, just like anything, and it just has an expiration on it.
Okay, perhaps maybe you could draft something, give us some
If
ideas as
you
far as that.
want to have a public hearing on the 23rd of March also, on the moratorium, I can give you a draft moratorium, okay, and you can have, and you can set the public hearing next, we'll have enough time if you set it on the 20th of February.
Yeah.
Set it out.
Good night.
Let me finish the.
Yeah, so if we can move towards that.
Sure.
It's, February's Black History Month, so hopefully people have an opportunity to commemorate and observe and give thanks and appreciation for all the important contributions to our history, our American history. So.
Okay, Harry.
Before we go on with public comment or polling of the board, do we want to go ahead and officially make a motion to set?
No, he just said we'll do it at the next.
You could do it on the February 23rd meeting for the March 20th.
Okay.
He's gonna get us a draft.
So you know what you're contemplating.
I know what I'm contemplating.
I shouldn't say it that way.
I also attended the veterans celebration and gathering. It was a wonderful event, and thanks to Sue Vales for the food, as well as Maureen Cole for the stories. I think she covered First World War as well, if I remember correctly. And thank you to everyone for your continuous engagement. It's important that we listen to one another. And sometimes when conversation goes on in the audience, it's kind of hard for others in the room to hear as well. So just keep that in mind next time you join us. I don't have anything else right now. I'm sure I'll think of something and I'll post it on Facebook.
Dan.
I'd urge the public to take a good look at this legislation. It's a good opportunity to give us your input. We've got plenty of time now. You can email comments to the supervisor and try to make sure they're all out there for people to contemplate and make for a real healthy dialogue on this.
I mean, the short-term rental, you said?
Yeah.
Gotcha, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
And the board didn't get the presentation for Optimum until today, so there's no way we could have shared it ahead of time. Unfortunately.
I can put it up on the,
Please.
I was gonna mention that, but anything else there?
Yeah, I would just note that, you know, there's, I think, a couple of real, key points in that legislation, and one of them is the owner occupied or not piece, right? That really fundamentally can change things, and it's kind of binary, you know, you either do that or you don't. And there's arguments to be made either way, and, you know, people have valid arguments they can make and valid interests in it, so it's gonna be a tough balancing act to go through all that and come out in a place, you know, that is appropriate. But anyway, I hope people help us through that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of things. So yeah, the veterans event was great, but I also want to mention that at that same event, we celebrated the birthdays of Quentin de Castro and Jean Tebaldi, who turned
One and 102 respectively, I think, right?
101, 102, is that one? Yeah, I was gonna say 100 and 102, but yeah. So that was yeah, pretty awesome. Two World War II vets that are in town, and it's great to hear their stories. So that was awesome. Regarding, there was a mention about the senior bus. I just want to correct the information that was presented. We did get the grant. It's the Community Development Block Grants. That money comes to us from the Housing and Urban Development, which is a federal agency. It comes down to the county, and the county distributes those funds for the purchase of the senior bus. Unfortunately, the funds were cut from the federal level, so the county is now looking for unused funds from other prior CDBG programs so that we can still buy our bus. So that's where we are currently with that. Optimum, yes. And anyone having issues, please reach out. They're very responsive. I have heard from people that, you know, say that they are doing a better job at customer service and their infrastructure. So they did, you know, during COVID, yeah, that was a bad time. They had to upgrade a lot of equipment, the nodes that provide the bandwidth, because they were overused. So they did do a lot of upgrades. But yes, please reach out if you have an issue and it's not getting addressed. Samantha and her team are very good at taking care of issues that are still ongoing.
Does she have a direct number that people can reach out?
No.
She said, you know, use the phone.
You have to
right?
go to customer service, but yeah, come to me and I'll communicate with her.
Okay.
But then eventually she'll get the right person to reach out to.
Can you have them look
client.
into Vista?
I need to know specifics. I need to know the area and to know addresses, account numbers if possible, telephone numbers, and who the owner of the account is.
All right.
But if anyone knows that it's a widespread issue, that's important to know. So please.
For my fellow neighbors, email us so we can get a report in.
Right.
Bless you.
And I think that's all I have. Actually, one more thing, Golden's Bridge. There was a mention about the shop in Golden's Bridge. That's a private entity. We have no. We can't say what goes into that shopping center or not. I know that it went in under a prior property manager. Yeah, the current property manager is not too happy with who's there now, but if there are issues, anything illegal going on, definitely report that to our police department. And even the county does regular checks throughout our town in terms of whoever's selling vaping products, et cetera.
Well, I think there was something. That's why the posting is there. There was a problem.
Yeah. There multiple times it has been. So yeah, please report that to PD. Okay. And I think that's it. So.
You want to mention Zane?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did have that. Here, it's right in front of me. Sorry, I have my glasses on. So I have, yeah, someone mentioned the passing of K9 Zane. So this was a note from PD. It is with great sadness that we share the passing of K9 Zane. 9/15/2016 was his date of birth. 2/7/26 was when he passed. The Lewisboro Police Department and his family mourned the loss of K9 Zane, a loyal partner and cherished member of our community. Beyond his service, K9 Zane was a trusted partner, friend, and family member. K9 Zane's legacy lives on in the community that remains safer because of him. Rest easy, K9 Zane. Your watch is complete. You will always be remembered and never forgotten. PD asked for donations to be made in memory of Zane to the Lewisboro PBA K9 Fund, which will continue Zane's legacy. So if you can, please donate.
Like in the memo you could put to BBA, the K9.
There's
You can-
there's a I think they're not a GoFundMe. There's a thing, you can do a Venmo too, and if you need to know what it is, email me. I'll get it to you. I don't know off the top of my head, but.
We have a motion for executive session, I think, after announcements, right?
Okay, so announcements. The next town board meeting is Monday, February 23rd, 2026 at 7:30 PM here at the townhouse. I would like to go ahead and motion to go into executive session for real estate issue and also attorney-client privilege discussion.